I wanted to show you some of the interesting enhancements the team have been putting together to improve Oracle Content Management's document workflow capabilities, using the Oracle Desktop Sync client to trigger automated processes to improve the overall editor experience whilst having an integration with OCM assets to improve the document review experience with managed workflows. We can also use this solution to quickly enable contributions and management of digital asset types from the Oracle Desktop Sync tool, providing your teams with a network share and integrated workflow experience, which I'll run through in another video. So, first of all, let's quickly talk about some of the limitations with OCM and its out-of-the-box workflow capabilities when it comes to documents. OCM Documents has provided a workflow integration with Oracle Integration Cloud for some time now. However, the overall user experience needs to be improved on. As an example, Documents requires reviewers to launch up Oracle Integration Cloud to manage any human tasks. There are no visible indicators on the state of the workflow within the Oracle Content Management user interface. Documents can be moved and new revisions can be created whilst the document is still in an active state. Even if you lock the document, you can still create new revisions. If you compare this with OCM assets, it has an improved workflow reveal experience within the OCM interface that allows users to see the assets in an active workflow state and allows them to manage the assets through the workflow lifecycle. However, one issue with this is that you cannot connect the desktop app to sync and manage digital asset types. To improve on the out-of-the-box capabilities, we've created an automated OIC process to manage the document's workflow lifecycle and push OCM documents into the OCM asset repository as digital asset types for reviewers to review and approve or reject the document as an asset. Once it has ended the human approval, it is then pushed back into Oracle Content Management documents for the editor. Let's run through and show you a demo of this in action. Okay, right, so I've got here on the left the network share into Oracle Content Management, and we've also got the Oracle Content Management app here up and running. And then on the right-hand side here, we're in the Documents area of Oracle Content Management, and you can see here I've got 3 shared folders. So top one contains all of our documents that have completed workflows. We store a metadata file that has information on the workflow process and the document. And you can see here, these are actually the names of the documents that have actually gone through and have been processed. We go back to the documents. This one shows all documents that are in active workflow. So as part of the process, when we trigger a document to start its entrance into the workflow, it gets moved into this folder here. So we know that all of these documents here are currently in an active workflow state. And then finally, the area in which we can trigger our workflow process. So we've got a drop documents here folder. Although you can have subfolders, you can drag and drop folders with documents into here and use the sync tool, and that will automate and process the documents and move those documents into the assets area. So let's just take a look at the flow. If I go into this folder here, and we'll just check to see that there's a workflow assigned. Yep, so we've got a workflow here that's already in place. Now what I'll do is I will drop in a document. As I said, you can drop in multiple documents. For now, let's just drop in a single document. And you'll see that that document has been dropped into the documents area. And if I refresh the screen, you'll see in a minute that that document has become a stub. By a stub, we've got a document representation in here. So you've got the file name and then the document type, and then you can see next to that you've got a stub saying that this is in an active workflow state. So now we've got OIC that's processing that document. If we go back to our documents folder, go into the documents in workflow, we should see that document has been moved into this folder here. And there's the document that was just moved into there. And then as part of this, this document is also created as a asset link within assets. So if we go to our asset repository here, you'll see that that document is now available to be reviewed by as part of a human task. So I can either choose to review that document by going into here, going to workflows, and I can see the document has been submitted for review. And here is where I can select the actions. But what I can also do within the assets area is I can go into my workflow tasks. And here are 3 documents that are currently in active workflows in the repository. And I can select this and I can select approve, put some information. This doc looks great. And we'll approve that document. Now, when I approve that document, it exits the workflow state and triggers the process to now trigger the action to move that document back through to the documents area. But what it does, if we go back to the assets area, you'll notice now that that document has been removed from the assets. And if we go into the documents area here and we go into the completed workflow, you'll see that 2 minutes ago that document was processed. So now if I go into the location where I dropped in the document, you'll see that document is there and it's gone through the approval process. We can do exactly the same thing again using our desktop sync tool. So what we'll do is we'll go into here, and at the moment that hasn't synced, but what we can do at this point just to prove it, let's just open up this and we will select sync now. And you'll see that the document has been processed and pushed across. So what I will do now is I'm just going to drag and drop a few documents into the system. And you'll see that those documents have now been uploaded with the green check mark. So if I go in here and I refresh that folder, refresh it again, it'll start triggering and putting these items into the workflow. And you can see we now have this JSON stub file that represents the original document. And if we go back to our documents folders, go into documents in workflow, we can see those 3 documents are now there and available. Now, the reason we move those documents into here is we actually lock down the this folder so that editors can see that documents are in a workflow state, but they can also open them up or download and access them. They just can't move them or trigger any other types of action whilst this document is in a workflow state. So now if we go into the assets area, you'll see those 3 documents are there. And what I'm going to do is, again, let's go into my workflow tasks. And let's just run through those. Let's approve all 3. All look great. Approve. And this is just going to process those documents, put them back into this folder. So let's go back to the documents folder. Let's go to where we were. And you'll see those documents are now there. If I go back into here and I'll just refresh, and let's just hit the sync capabilities. And we'll just say, hey, sync now. And you'll see those stub files are then replaced with the original documents. There you go. And that is it. Now, one of the other things that we could do, which I'll come onto in another video, is we could also use this approach to manage digital asset types. So if we go back to the asset repository, anything in here, a video, a document, image, whatever, we could actually have a sync process in place that uses the documents and pushes the assets into here, as well as pushes across potentially new versions. And the way in which we do that is if you look at the document itself, and I'll just go into, let's see if we can. Well, what we do behind the scenes is we actually apply a stub, not a stub, sorry, a slug against that asset. And by supplying a slug, it provides us an easy way to link that document ID from OCM documents and map it against the asset here, meaning that we've got a native link to create new revisions and versions that are synced from OCM documents and pushed across into assets. And therefore, digital teams can then manage all of their native assets, whether those are Photoshop files or image assets, directly within their network drive, which are then all pushed and published back into the assets area. That's it. Great. So what I wanted to just finish on is the process also has version control. So if you were to drag and drop a document and create version 2 as part of the flow in the documents, what happens is that original version, say version 1, stays in the platform, and then we get a stub file that just appears above it saying this is version 2 with the file name and everything. It goes through all the flow, and then once the reviewer approves it, it will go back into the process and it'll remove that stub and automatically create a version 2 from that original asset and make it available. And then finally, error handling. Yes, we've got error handling in place. So what happens is the administrators will be notified by an email, say, hey, there's a document that's errored for whatever reason. Maybe there's a connection issue with process or something else that's happened along the way. And then that document will also get moved, depending on where it is. If it's still in docs, it will get moved into a specific error folder that the admins can then go in, manage, and move back to wherever it is. On top of that, we also supply and store additional metadata against these documents. And that just gives us hooks into where the document is going and what folder it needs to stay in, what version it's currently processing. So that's it. I hope that has been interesting for you guys. And if you have any questions or you'd like to see this in more detail, please contact the Fishbowl Solutions team. Thank you.